With Makoto on her back, Mukuro took several trophies from the gym entrance hall, and after passing through the door leading to the hallway, she jammed the trophies through the door handles. And though Sakura could easily destroy these makeshift locks, they should buy Mukuro a few extra seconds. Yeah, I was gonna say, Sakura is just gonna, like, lightly flick the door and it's gonna come open, man. But I suppose it would buy you those extra seconds when you're not expecting it and you just run into the door. Hero would well, no, Hero wouldn't be at the front, but if it were with just the surviving cast of Danganronpa 1, Hero would definitely be the one who runs into the door. Maybe Hina. Then Mukuro started running to the nurse's office, the place she last spoke to Makoto. Everything necessary for performing the first aid could be found there. Her little sister was her enemy. Her fellow ultimate students were her enemy. Her only ally right now was Makoto, who was on the verge of death. Mukuro knew that even she wasn't her own ally right now. Amidst all this chaos, amidst her sister's betrayal and nearly being killed, she believed. She believed she was the only one who truly understood her little sister. That's why she felt like she had to protect her. Shut up, Mukuro. Don't bother with her. Oh, Junko's the worst. That's right. You didn't do anything wrong, Junko. You just wanted to feel despair, that's all. Right? Because you love me. That's why you wanted to kill me. You were just trying to feel despair, right? I'm sorry. I'm sorry I failed to bring you despair. But at the same time, she wondered if she saves Makoto and betrays her sister by disrupting her plan, wouldn't that fill her with an even stronger despair? Wouldn't that make her happy? But betrayed Junko? What should I do? Mukuro closed her eyes and listened to Makoto's weak breaths. What should I do, Makoto? On a battlefield where all you need to do is kill and survive, Mukuro was invincible. She could suppress all her emotions and fully immerse herself in becoming a perfect killing machine. But on this twisted battlefield of daily high school life, she could no longer keep her emotions in check, especially around her little sister. Mukuro, the ultimate soldier, was beginning to question being ultimate despair. The impulses of the normal high school girl inside her were starting to affect her state of mind. Even so, the poor girl continued to run through the dark hallways, clinging to this conflict within herself. You know, it is quite interesting that, hang on, rephrase what I'm about to say. The different level of introspective a light novel can give you as opposed to, say, the visual novel format. Because, like, this sort of dialogue just would not work as dialogue, right? But, like, this right here does, you know, because it gives us a look into Mukuro's thought process rather than her thoughts that process pushes out, which is sort of what we get when it's like Hajime or Makoto's narration, right? Like their inner thoughts, the blue text. We don't really see their thought process so much as we see them just coming up with their thoughts. This, like, explores that. And I know I basically just defined what narration is from a third-person point of view, but you know what I mean? You get something very different, and it's actually, I haven't really commented on it that much. I've mostly just read the dialogue and narration so far. But this is quite interesting to get this, not only look into someone's head, but a look into Mukuro's specifically. Because Mukuro is probably, aside from, maybe not even aside from, maybe even including the ultimate imposter, Mukuro is probably the character we know the least about. I don't know, maybe there is extra content or whatever that features Mukuro, like the other light novels and manga and whatever. I mean, I doubt she'd be in, say, Danganronpa Kirigiri, but I mean, I know nothing about Danganronpa Zero. Maybe she's in that. I don't know. Well, okay. I know a little bit about Danganronpa Zero, but... really. But, yeah. I don't really know Danganronpa Zero, is what I'm trying to say. Like, I know it, but I don't really know it. Yeah? It's like, that cool? That cool? Do you get what I'm saying? I hope you get what I'm saying, so I'm going to end it there. She was now walking along a narrow, hair-thin path. A path between the hope of Makoto Naegi and the despair of Junko Enoshima. And the despair of Junko Enoshima! Yeah, I know how you work, game. Meanwhile, everyone still in the gym was left in a state of complete confusion. Toko was famous for being a prolific author, but even though she came across as unsociable and depressing, her mind-blowing transformation seemed to have just tossed all that aside. Sayaka. Toko is... Genocide Jack? Sayaka trembled with fear as Jack tilted her head and stuck out her long tongue.
Huh? What's with this reception, you guys? You guys didn't know who I was? Have I been found out? Or have you known all along? And why was the sullen samurai dressed like that? That outfit doesn't look good on her at all.
Oh, is that a Mukuro nickname? Sullen Samurai. I like that. Right up there with Afro Thunder and Big Mac. Yeah. Ooh. Not so sure about Cherry, TikTok, and Huffy, though. Those pretty mid-tier. Is Master a nickname? I guess it is, along with Dekamaru. Dekamaru is pretty good. The Sullen Samurai was probably referring to Mukuro, which means Toko already knew Mukuro in advance. Hang on, whose point of view are we getting this from right now? Confronted by that shocking truth, the students had no idea where to begin talking. So many things were clearly wrong by this point. But there were a few students, such as Byakuya and Kyoko, who opted to remain calm and observe the situation. Okay, it's still Jack.
Alright, someone better spill it. Who gave Makoto an extra mouth to feed? I don't care if you want to stab him or slice him. I just can't forgive whoever put that ugly-ass hole in Big Mac's side.
Genocide Jack spun her scissors in her hands. As she spoke, her emotions and facial expressions constantly changed. Even without the threat of her scissors, she exuded an aura of danger that made her unapproachable.
The flank state of a young boy like macaroons is like a bluebird that pops out a golden egg.
Flank steak? Say Makoto's got a nice arse, or just like his back area?
If you would have just let me handle it, I would have killed him so good that even Teetle and Meetle would be eager to die.
Tiltle and Miltle? Not a clue.
Poor McCutie's heart and soul must have been stomped on by such a sloppy kill.
So I have no idea what Teetle and Meetle are.
That actually sounds pretty exciting, too. But I decline. Toko, you're not making any sense, screamed Aoi. What in the world happened to you?
Genocide Jack answered by pointing her scissors at Aoi and saying something about her tits.
What happened to me? I got bored, that's what. That sourpuss locked me up a few days ago, but when she went unconscious, I thought I'd finally get to do my thing. But I woke up for all this. My cutie's soaked with blood and I've got no clue what's going on. It's so damn confusing, all I can do is laugh.
No one seemed to be able to get a straight answer out of Jack, so Hifumi made a timid remark.
I'm done with girls like this in my 2D dating games, but this doesn't even compare. It's like there's a triple S difficulty level to clear her.
I can't believe you'd even think about her as someone worth clearing, mumbled Leon. It was clear that things were going nowhere, and as if she were responding to everyone else's expectations, Sakura stepped forward. She might be in the throes of confusion. I should try to restrain her for now. As soon as she heard that, Genocide Jack stopped moving, stuck out her lizard-like tongue, and grinned wickedly.
Oh, what's up? Are you gonna fight me, Battle Ogre? Too bad. My lovely scissors are only for cutting through adorable boys.
And the clothes of girls, just in case.
Women should just stay home. I won't take my scissors into your filthy blood.
Replied Sakura. It seems my words are useless on you. Sakura entered a fighter's stance, determined to restrain Jack. But Jack knew she couldn't win in a fair fight and adopted a strange stance of her own. In a normal fight, Jack would obviously lose to the ogre, but if... Come on, guys, you don't need to keep calling her that. But if Jack focused just on dodging attacks, the outcome of the fight would be hard to foresee. I guess so. I mean... Of course, Genocide Jack's physical abilities were only obvious to a few of the students in the first place. The two women exchanging hostile stares as the other students gulped nervously and watched. Except for one person. Kyoko was watching something else. She was watching Monokuma, who was in the corner of the gym, unmoving as white noise emitted from his speakers. He had stopped moving the moment everyone's attention focused on Sakura and Toko. It's possible that Madarai's hacking had been disrupted, but an infinite number of other possibilities were also swirling around in Kyoko's mind. I guess we're getting Kyoko's point of view then. She brushed back her hair with a gloved hand and continued to watch. But she couldn't fully remember her talent. The actions she was taking right now were fueled by pure instinct. The strange situations that kept occurring in front of her were shaking her to her very core. Her mind worked diligently to scoop up countless amounts of information from her vast sea of memories. And as if they were synchronizing with the synapses firing in her brain, Sakura and Toko kicked off the ground at the same time, and an intense impact ran throughout the room. Oh man, we get... Yo, Hifumi, I didn't realize you died already. Anyway, yeah, shame. I really wanted to see a fight scene between Jack and Sakura. Thanks to the heated battle that was unfolding in the gymnasium, Mukuro Ikusaba was able to buy more time than she had imagined. As soon as she entered the nurse's office, she rummaged around for medical supplies and did what she could to stop the bleeding. Though still quite shallow, Makoto's breathing slowly stabilized. Mukuro let out a sigh of relief. A little sigh of relief. However, even though she was somehow able to stop the bleeding, she wasn't out of the woods yet. Miraculously enough, it seemed like none of Makoto's major arteries or organs were damaged. Was this perhaps thanks to his ultimate luck? Or maybe. Or maybe it's just because he got, stuck in the side, right? Or maybe he wasn't actually all that lucky. After all, the only sort of medical treatment he could hope for was partial at best. Mukuro couldn't decide. If only I could do a blood transfusion. The nurse's office should have had several blood packs for transfusion. Mukuro suspected that Makoto's blood type might be written in his e-handbook, but as she reached over to search his pockets... Okay, yeah.
I see you're reaching for a sleeping boy's clothes. What in the world is about to happen next? Adults can keep playing, but you kids better press the B button, okay?
I hate to tell you this, Monokuma, but there are no B buttons on a Vita. Sorry, just sort of noises always just crack me up, even when I do them. Mukuro turned toward that familiar voice and saw Monokuma standing before her.
You're all alone with Makoto right now. Just think of me as a cute wild animal and let your lust lead the way.
As the headmaster... Oh, yeah, shit. Wait. You didn't... You missed speech marks.
As the headmaster, I must prevent any illicit sexual relationships, but physical education classes are just fine, Missy.
Though he looked just like the one that was at the gym, it was clearly a different Monokuma. Multiple Monokumas have been placed throughout the entire academy, so it wasn't a stretch for him to suddenly appear out of nowhere. Regardless, the same person was controlling all of them. Mukuro had been wary of Monokuma attacking her while she was treating Makoto's wounds, but his appearance at this particular moment seemed to take her by surprise. "Junko?" asked Mukuro, cautiously. Monokuma tilted his head along with his entire upper body inquisitively.
Junko? Who's that? Junko? I've never heard of that country before.
No more jokes. Answer me, Mukuro. Answer me, Junko. You were planning to kill me earlier, right?
Junko this, Junko that. What's your problem? I'm telling you, I'm Monokuma. You must be a big disappointment if you can't even remember something like that. You're not just a disappointment as a person, you're a disappointment as a sister, too. You're too skinny, and your brain is nothing but muscles, and your personality is just unbearable.
I'm sorry, said Mukuro. She didn't need to apologize, but hearing her little sister call her a disappointment yet again was enough to make the ultimate soldier recoil. Wow, yet again? So all that shit she was saying in the fucking chapter 6 of Danganronpa 1, like, she'd say that to Mukuro's face? God, what a fucking dickhole! Like, oh my god, Junko, stop existing. I mean, I know you kind of have, like, twice now, but stop existing, Jesus. Monokuma ignored her in her current situation, climbed on top of Makoto's barely breathing body, and began poking his cheeks.
So, what are you gonna do with Makoto now? I'm really interested in human mating habits, you know?
What are you... asked Mukuro before trailing off. Monokuma lowered his tone and began whispering into her ear.
Makoto's a pretty nice guy, huh? He even sacrificed himself to save you. He's so generous that it's actually hopeless.
He's not dead yet, insisted Mukuro. Despite her firm tone, she couldn't hide the fear lingering in her voice.
That's the most disappointing thing about you. You can't even say I won't let him die.
I won't let him die, Junko. Mukuro could barely get a word in as Monokuma erupted into poos and and continued to torment her.
As if you could do that. Too bad, no regrets. See you tomorrow. This is all because Makoto was the first person to smile at you. You, a disappointing, depressing, unladylike, inhuman killing machine.
If that's true, that is really fucking depressing. Like, that's almost Mikan level of depressing. You know, with her whole, bullying sort of thing. Look, it's pretty obvious Mikan isn't in a good place, you know what I mean? Which I guess just means that Junko attracts those sorts. And I mean, I'm not saying that everyone in Danganronpa 2 is a bit fucked, but, you know, Nagito. Despite denying that he was Junko, Monokuma began speaking at length about Mukuro's past. This contradiction was very much like Junko, and Mukuro was so shaken that all she could do was watch the bear prattle on and on.
Only the fit survive in this world. The only thing that kind-hearted people can do is die, you know. As proof, you're gonna watch Makoto die really soon.
He won't die. Mukuro's tone of voice became irregular ever since she took off her Junko wig. Aside from her conversation with Makoto, everything she said as Junko was from a script that her sister had written. But now, there was no script for Mukuro to rely on anymore. Mukuro was threatening Monokuma like she would threaten her own sister. If the other students saw her acting so weak, they'd never believe she was the same person who fought Sakura in the gym. Not just that, if anyone from her mercenary past could see her now, her stark change in attitude might make them think she was someone else entirely. Monokuma continued to rail against Mukuro.
Nope, he's gonna die. I know, it's sad, but you just have to face the facts.
Monokuma wriggled his limbs and danced around, then pointed right at Mukuro's face.
Because Makoto is gonna die by your hands.
Huh?
Infighting among the terrorists. The big bad terrorist silences the weak-willed Makoto before he can leak any information. Doesn't that happen all the time? In the end, all the desperate things you said in the gym turned out to be lies you told just to escape.
Mukuro frowned at Monokuma. You can't do that, Junko. I won't let you do that. As she blurted out those words in a trembling voice, Mukuro was gripped with confusion about what she had just said. Am I defying Junko right now? Why? It was a strange feeling. To Mukuro, it was like she was standing on the ledge of a tall building and imagining what would happen if she jumped. A destructive feeling akin to holding a friend's baby and wondering what would happen if you tripped and fell. God, why do we all have thoughts like that? You know the ones, like, man, this is a really big building. I wonder what would happen if I just fell out that window. Or, man, it would really hurt to put my fingers between those spinning wheels. I wonder what it would feel like if I did. I'm pretty sure there's a name for that too, but... I know that, like, the window one is like Call of the Abyss, but... Before she knew it, fear and anxiety had suddenly taken control of Mukuro's heart. As a member of Fenrir, in his ultimate despair, Mukuro had killed innumerable people. She had handled live grenades before. She had descended from the sky in a parachute as anti-aircraft weaponry fired all around her. Jesus, alright, Mukuro. Don't need to be too cool. Her heart never wavered on the battlefield, but now it felt like it could collapse at any second. Monokuma, however, was as stable as a tree and slightly tilted his head to the side.
Huh? Weren't you listening to my story?
Yeah.
I'm not the one who's gonna kill Makoto. You are.
What? What are you saying, Junko? Monokuma began giving a strange explanation to a very confused Mukuro.
Do you know what the suspension bridge effect really means? It means you push the person you love off a bridge and they'll be yours for eternity.
Is that what that's called? I think that's just called being fucking insane.
I haven't heard that at all. Life doesn't always follow what your textbooks say. It's sad, but that's what love is.
His words made no sense, and Mukuro couldn't think of anything to say as she stood there dumbfounded. Meanwhile, Monokuma continued his little speech, intentionally saying things meant to antagonize Mukuro.
Basically, this is your big chance, you know. If you kill Makoto right here and now, nobody will ever take him away from you again. Makoto Naegi, dead by dawn. The last name he ever spoke was Mukuro Ikusaba. The last person he ever smiled at was Mukuro Ikusaba. Doesn't that sound wonderful?
There was a certain appeal to Monokuma's twisted suggestion, and Mukuro found herself unsure of her own judgment. This is wrong. It has to be wrong. But it's really Junko saying all this. So doesn't that mean it's right? No, this isn't Junko. It's Monokuma. Monokuma.
And are you saying you want to help Makoto? Once he gets better, he's gonna know everything. He'll know what you did to your classmates. I can't believe you would actually erase your friends' memories of their time together and force them to kill each other. Makoto might get mad at you and say, our real enemy isn't the bear, it's her. Do you really want him to blame you for this?
Mukuro's face turned pale.
Or are you going to kill the others? If everyone except you and Makoto dies, you'll be able to spend the rest of your school life together. We can't hold a class trial with only 2 people. It might be a good idea for you both to live the rest of your lives in this academy forever.
No, that's wrong,
what are you gonna do if his memories return? It's not like you were dating Makoto or anything. You were just watching him from afar the whole time. Man, you're so shy. You can shoot people's hearts and brains, no problem, but you can't even woo some stupid boy into liking you. Do you want to know who Makoto had a crush on before his memories were taken away?
Jesus Christ, Junko! Why are you such a bitch? Oh my god. Fuck off. God, I feel so bad for Mukuro. Fucking clearly, she's like, especially with that whole, oh, Junko said it, so it must be right, yes? She's clearly just been so thoroughly abused by Junko that she's got, like, pretty much borderline Stockholm syndrome, you know? Like, fuck, that's unnecessarily cruel of Junko. I mean, I get it, haha, ultimate despair, but fucking hell. Mukuro hasn't even been with Junko her whole life. Like, Junko even said this, right? In chapter 6 of Danganronpa 1, like, oh, Mukuro left me behind to join some stupid mercenary group. So it's like, really? They haven't even been together that long again. So you're telling me when Mukuro was even younger, she'd get this shit from Junko. And of course, when she came back to, you know, come to Hope's Peak, I guess. Jesus Christ. But also, on a more lighthearted note, I've seen, like, ship art of Mukuro and Makoto before, and I was like, why? Is it because it's just Makoto, and because he's protag man, you can ship him with, like, anyone? But no, there's actually apparently a thing for it. I guess Mukuro had a thing for Makoto. Which really even further pushes that whole, I don't think Mukuro was really that down for this. I think she was just doing it for the sake of, oh, it'll make Junko happy. It's what she wants, so it must be for the best, right? God, I mean, fucking, ugh. I think it's more annoying because this is how some people actually are. You know, I can't fault Mukuro because it's how some people actually are. But like, fuck, nuh-uh. I ain't having this Junko abuse. Or this abuse from Junko. I perfectly accept Junko abuse. You know, can we kill her like another 3 times, please? But still. Again, God, Junko's just the worst. Is all I'm gonna say. Mukuro trembled as Monokuma continued pressing the issue, gradually loosening the screws, keeping her heart secure. So Mukuro chose to pretend she didn't hear anything at all. All emotion vanished from her face, and she looked silently for Makoto's e-handbook.
If you're looking for his blood type, it's not written in the handbook.
Mukuro's face turned pale. Within 5 seconds, her plan to ignore Monokuma had already failed.
But since your headmaster is made up of 50% kindness, I'll tell you anyway. Makoto's blood type is B.
As soon as she heard him say that, all the anxiety, horror, hostility, malice, and dread churning within Mukuro had completely vanished. Thank you, Junko. Mukuro's eyes sparkled without a hint of suspicion, so she turned her back to Monokuma without a hint of suspicion, and walked towards a refrigerator containing the blood packs. Fresh blood packs should have been prepared before the plan took effect. They'll last in cold storage for 21 days. They should still be good. Despite her emotionless face, Mukuro let herself feel a small amount of satisfaction as she took a blood pack from the refrigerator. As Monokuma watched her, his normally emotionless eyes twitched ever so slightly. If a third party could see his face right now, or even if the other students could see his face right now, they'd wonder, is Monokuma surprised? Yeah, I mean, considering what was just highlighted in yellow text before, probably absolute bullshit. And to be fair, it totally fits with Junko's MO, you know, she'll get Mukuro to kill Makoto, so like, oops, that plan from before comes into effect. by giving him the wrong blood pack. And then, of course, it'll inspire some despair in Mukuro because, oops, killed this cute little boy you liked, Maybe I shouldn't say little boy. Cute little man you liked, Fucking asshole. I fucking hate Junko. I mean, she's entertaining. She was entertaining in Danganronpa 1, but, otherwise, fuck off. That's right, they'd have the same shocked look on their faces as if they were seeing Monokuma for the first time. At that moment, a whisper crept out of Monokuma's emotionless face.
There should be a low. There should be a limit to how disappointing you can be.
Hold on. Sorry. Oh, it's the water. It was far quieter than a mosquito's wings. Even with her battle-hardened hearing, Mukuro couldn't hear what he said. Monokuma shook his head and the voice returned to normal.
It's not like I care that you, the ultimate despair, has hope in anything. It's not like I expected much from you to begin with, so this will at least help me feel despair. Huh? But seriously, you disappoint me. Just so you know, despair and disappointment are completely different things, okay? They're as different as bears and pandas.
What are you... Mukuro's body started to shake as she turned back to look at Monokuma. He hadn't started talking any differently than usual. Junko hadn't turned off the voice modulator and started talking on her real voice or anything. And yet, Mukuro was utterly terrified. She was terrified on instinct, not as a soldier. Half the reason she was terrified was because of her instincts as the ultimate despair, and the other half was because she was Junko's older sister. Even through Monokuma, her instincts were telling her that Junko was annoyed with her.
Junko? Why? Why are you annoyed? Is it because I betrayed you? Or is it because I didn't die like you wanted me to? Ugh,
sulked Monokuma.
I'm beyond annoyed. I'm really, really angry. And I'm really, really disappointed right now. I'm so pissed I could take a rage nap right now.
Monokuma's anger didn't seem any different from his usual anger toward the students, but Mukuro could instinctively sense another emotion mixed with it. Right now, she could feel that Junko was feeling hopeless disappointment. It's normal for someone who's disappointed to lose hope, but for ultimate despair, disappointment means something else entirely. To them, disappointment was tantamount to losing despair itself. Mukuro was a member of Ultimate Despair. At her sister's behest, Mukuro had soiled her hands many times in order to fill the world with despair. Despite her pride toward being a member of Ultimate Despair, there was a clear difference between Mukuro and her sister. Junko Enoshima was despair incarnate. She was born in despair. Born in despair, molded by it, letting it infect other people's hope so it could rot them from the inside out, twisting them into her own image. For Junko, feeling hope was its own despair. Creating despair in others created despair in herself, which caused her to feel both intense intense pain and intense bliss. Junko had walked the fracture created from a conflict between pleasure and penance all her life. Eventually, the fracture would widen until it swallowed the world and tore it in half. But Mukuro, on the other hand, had neither hope nor despair for the world. At least, not when she was a member of Fenrir. Ever since she was a child, Mukuro believed she was meant to spread despair because of her sister. She didn't harbour any ill will towards the world. She simply accepted she was meant to spread despair and chose to walk the same path as her sister. Wow! Manipulative much? The doubt she felt was only a recent development. When Junko told her about the plan, when she watched the world burn at the hands of terrorists wearing Monokuma masks, she never wavered once. However, as soon as she heard about her sister's plan to make their classmates kill each other, Makoto included, a strange feeling began to stir within her. What started as a seed of doubt soon grew into a thorny vine ensnaring Mukuro's feet. As soon as she disguised herself as Junko and finished meeting the other students, as soon as she had confirmed that everyone's memories had been completely taken away, the vine began tightening around Mukuro's heart. Yeah, I mean, that's sort of just confirming what I suspected this whole time, that Mukuro really felt like, what she wasn't fully in on the plan, and by By the sounds of it, she wasn't really in on the plan at all. She, was not a fan.
They're gone. Junko's the only one who knows about me now. That's it. But there's no problem. It's just like old times. Things will never go back to how they used to be. But that's fine. This should be fine. She'd relinquished the past 2 years she had spent with her friends so she could betray them and deliver death and despair unto them. Though her heart ached, Mukuro was beyond feeling guilt or remorse for her actions. I don't know about that, Mukuro. I don't know about that. Thorny vines around your heart, that's some guilt. But the question, why does my heart ache like this, still remained unanswered. Perhaps that's why she spent so much time talking to Makoto when he was in the nurse's office. And when Makoto gave her that one particular answer, something changed inside her. In return, I promise that if I do decide to kill someone, it won't be you. The words Mukuro blurted out to Makoto weren't improvised to further her role as Junko. It was an honest sentiment from the bottom of her heart. Oh, and considering that is ripped right from the free time events, that's quite sweet. In her own way. I don't think she would have killed anyone, to be honest. Unless Junko really hammered it in on her, I don't think she would have done it. She was even planning to ask Junko herself if Makoto could somehow be spared from her plan. Oh, Mukuro. After the past 2 years, Mukuro's interest had been slowly shifting away from her sister and toward the world itself. By extension, her interests also included Makoto, the first person to ever smile at her and make her feel connected to the world. Oh, that is really fucking depressing. It was like a sapling of pure honesty that had taken root in Mukuro's heart. Yeah, that seems about right. But by the time she realized that, the tree had already rotted. As Mukuro struggled to understand the situation, Monokuma let out a sigh and said, I wonder which part of you is a wolf, anyway. You're just a dog that blindly follows Junko's orders. What does the tattoo on your hand even mean? Are you just a bitch who's pledged her loyalty to her owner? I bet Toko would say that. I'm positive. She said something like that. What was it? Someone made her get a tattoo to make it seem like you're my bitch, or something like that. Yeah. But you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if you saw her that way, Junko, you fucking ass. Monokuma continued to talk as Mukuro stood in confusion. I was obviously lying when I said Makoto's blood type is B. What? Cried Mukuro. You lied? Junko. A normal person would have been suspicious. I never thought you'd actually believe me just now. I must have misplaced my eyes because I totally did not see that coming. Not even with my ability to predict the future. How shocking. Jeez, I'm about to start crying my eyes out like some kind of robot cat. Seriously. It's going to be okay, Junko, said Mukuro. I know our plan kind of fell apart, but I'm still on your side. Are you feeling all right? Because I'll do anything. Snap! Oh, it wasn't it. That's my snap sound. A harsh sound came from Monokuma's mouth. That sound was one of my circuits overloading. It's been so long since I felt this angry. Meet me on the roof of the school. I'll smash out all your baby teeth. Monokuma started shadowboxing in front of Mukuro, who remained frozen in place, clutching a blood pack in her hand. She still looked confused, and Monokuma threw up his arms in frustration. You're so disappointing, I can't even predict it anymore. A threatening roar burst from Monokuma's mouth as he leapt at Mukuro with his sharp claws extended. At that moment, her face became completely emotionless. It was not a conscious action. The defensive instinct she honed during her time with Fenrir temporarily suppressed her emotions as she countered Monokuma's attack. Mukuro grabbed a nearby IV stand and used it to parry Monokuma's claws. However, Monokuma's claws seemed to be made with a special alloy and easily sliced the bar in half diagonally. And instead of following up his attack, Monokuma continued talking to Mukuro. I guess you're not much of a disappointment when it comes to fighting. In fact, You were so pathetic that you died from that single attack. That would have been interesting in its own way. But right now, you're just incompetent at everything. I'm sorry, said Mukuro. I couldn't help blocking your attack. But there's no way I can fight you, Junko. After all, I'm all you have. I'm the only one who understands you at all. Mukuro's words were riddled with endless dismay. The contrast between her usual stoic self and the way she was acting now was so stark, people might assume she had multiple personalities. However, Monokuma just quietly stared at her. He was perfectly still, as if all his functions had powered down completely. Well, he's just that disappointed, you know. But Mukuro continued to share her feelings. There's no way I can just leave you alone. And then Monokuma broke his silence, but at that moment, a monitor in the nurse's office lit up, displaying a girl's face. Junko Enoshima. At the same time, a voice completely unlike Monokuma's began to play from the speakers. Oh shit, I don't actually have a real Junko voice either. Fuck it, I hate her. She's getting the oh my god, gag me with a spoon voice. I don't fucking care. Hey, Mukuro! Junko? It had been several days since Mukuro had heard her sister's real voice. Though her face remained emotionless, excitement sparkled in her eyes. However, that shine immediately dulled. I'm grateful to see you, Mukuro. I mean it. Junko's voice emanating from the speakers sounded very gentle and kind. Junko? I'm really sorry. I said so many mean things to you. I even tried to kill you earlier. I was about to make you do something horrible just now. Even though I know about your feelings towards Makoto. You don't have to force yourself. Even if you didn't notice, it was totally obvious to anyone looking at you. You never cared about the class photos, but when Makoto said he was going to take one, you made sure you were facing the camera. Actually, Mukuro doesn't look at the camera for any of them other than Makoto's, right? Because in the swimming one, she's just staring at, like, her hand or something. In the running one, I think she's just off in the distance. And in the one in the classroom, she's looking straight ahead, which is not at the camera. So she's got, like, a perfect profile. And then Junko Enoshima, the ultimate despair, flashed a smile. You know, pure, sweet smile. Ugh. On the monitor, she looked like a normal high school girl teasing her older sister. And yet, Mukuro could feel despair and anxiety encasing themselves around her. I always thought you should have tried hard to take pictures with Makoto. But I guess that's what makes you so disappointing. Still, even though you're disappointing and annoying, I still love you. Mukuro trembled upon hearing those words. I'm just going to imagine it's an echo. I love you. That's all she ever wanted to hear her sister say. Mukuro believed. No matter what Junko said, she believed she really loved her. She believed she was the only one who could truly understand the despair known as Junko Enoshima. She was naive. As soon as she heard Junko say, I love you, Mukuro realized she never completely understood her sister. It was only at this moment that Mukuro finally understood her sister's feelings. Junko's words right now were kind. Perhaps that kindness was completely honest. The words, I love you, might have been true as well. However, for Junko Enoshima, this was her way of saying goodbye. She was severing the ties between them. It was painfully clear to Mukuro. And then, before she could even say anything, the girl in the monitor made a remark that cut Mukuro to the bone. I'm sure someday you'll make all your dreams come true. Ultimate Despairs never talked to each other like this. A simple truth stabbed into Mukuro's heart. Junko had no further use for her. Her own sister was parting ways with her. Mukuro had dedicated over 10 years of her life to the cause of Ultimate Despair, and at this moment it all counted for nothing. But those years no longer mattered to Mukuro. Her sister's rejection was more than enough to send her into the depths of despair. That's why Mukuro even now clung to a small sliver of hope. Meanwhile, Junko was still on the monitor. You're right.
Did you really think I'd say something that nice? To you? Ugh. You're so annoying. Can't you just hurry up and disappear already? Mukuro hoped Junko would say something like that. She hoped that she'd start verbally abusing her again or call her useless and incompetent. Mukuro was no masochist, but she'd prefer to be showered with bullets and contempt than endure this kind of emotional pain. Really? You're not a masochist, Mukuro? Kind of sounds like you are, but... I love you, Mukuro. Bye-bye. The monitor went black, leaving Mukuro to process the horrible goodbye she'd just received. And as if on cue, Monokuma started moving again.
Isn't family love so nice? By the way, did you know that in about half of all murder cases, the killer is a family member?
It's true, actually. You're much more likely to get murdered by someone you know, and especially family, than a stranger. Which is terrifying in its own way, but also, if you have good relations with your family, you're pretty unlikely to get murdered. Monokuma spoke in his usual tone of voice, but it was unclear if his words were getting through to Mukuro. Granted, in saying that, a vast majority of murders are also spur of the moment, so ultimately it doesn't really matter. And that's also why it's a lot of family who kill family, because it's spur of the moment, so... But it was unclear if his words were getting through to Mukuro. I'd hope not, but they probably are. Or probably not. It could be either or, I guess. She's in utter shell shock. Mukuro let the blood pack in her hand fall to the floor and tightened her grip on the iron bar she was holding. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Junko, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. She mumbled quietly as if she were chanting a spell and walked past the blood pack on her floor to Makoto's bedside with the iron bar in her hands. I'll do it properly. I'll make sure I do it. So...
Oh,
said Monokuma, perking up.
What are you gonna properly do to Makoto with that big, thick rod you got there? Are you gonna do him? Or are you gonna do him in? Either way, I'm starting to feel some heart-throbbing excitement!
Mukuro looked like she had been completely broken. Monokuma walked closer to her with eager anticipation. Suddenly, Monokuma's body slightly floated into the air, or silently floated into the air. Huh? With no expression on his face, Monokuma tried to see what had just happened to him. And in the blink of an eye, an iron bar ripped through his body. Oh! Get him, Mukuro! The tip of the bar, which had been cut diagonally earlier into a sharp point, went straight through Monokuma and stabbed into a surveillance camera. The lens was completely destroyed and the camera shot out sparks as it broke down. The iron bar was still stabbed into the surveillance camera as Monokuma dangled from the other end. He opened his mouth as if to say something, but only static came out. A few seconds later, his functions came to a complete stop. Without making a sound at all, Mukuro had kicked Monokuma into the air. As soon as Monokuma's power source and his bomb circuit had perfectly aligned with the surveillance camera in the nurse's office, Mukuro plunged the iron bar into all three of them. Jeez! Oh my god, no normal human has the skill to utilize such a technique. Not even an ultimate. All the hesitation within Mukuro had vanished. Her eyes sparkled like a panther stalking its prey at night. A tense aura surrounded Mukuro, even more so than when she fought Sakura earlier. Ignoring Monokuma's lifeless form, she looked at Makoto as he breathed softly and remembered her sister's parting words. So this is despair, she mumbled to herself. I'm so sorry, Junko. I never really understood what despair was. She spoke without emotion, like a machine. It's going to be all right now. I finally understand. Hidden within her, passions began to stir. So, I'll make sure I make you happy, Junko. I'll make sure I fill you with despair. I'll save Makoto. I'll make sure the others don't die. I'll let them escape from this place. I'll deal with the people on the outside, too. You invested so much time and killed so many people for the sake of this plan, and I'll destroy every last remnant of it. For you. This was not an act of vengeance toward the sister who had abandoned her. This was an act of mercy. Stuck between the ultimate despair and the hope she gained from Makoto, Mukuro was being refined into something that was unlike despair or hope, and she had no way of knowing where her path would lead. Well, I mean, at least she's coming around, I guess. Just give the fucking middle finger to Junko, because Junko is an absolute fucking twit who deserves everything that she has coming to her, because she just absolutely fucking sucks.